All right. Yeah, so I decided I'm gonna do another sour lemons. Welcome to the stream. I was gonna try to do a simple junior uh front end mentor challenge today. Seems like people liked when I do these challenges before, so I'll try it again. I already downloaded the project and I have it set up in VS Code so we can like start modifying it and stuff. No audio. Oh, cool. Welcome, LDA Tuan. All right, how's it going, everyone? Yeah, let's just jump into it. I don't know. Let's see. Let's go to images and design, and let's see like what does this thing give us? I'm also going to try using vanilla.js, so this will probably be a struggle for me. They got some mobile designs here. They got some other designs. Let's just start with the active states and see if we can kind of like design to match this. And when you do the front end mentor challenge, they give you a zip file that has like all this information on it. And what you can do is you like modify the index CSS and do what you need to do to like get it all set up. Yeah, so let's just start off with the panel and like this background color being like this cyan. Oh, I spelled front end mentor wrong. Front end mentor IO. Give me 1 second, I could fix that. Oh, I call it dev end mentor. Okay. Okay. So this is what we're trying to build, and this is what we got. So first of all, let's just try to change the background color. And I am curious, do they provide us with palette or any type of like thing? Oh, they have a style guide here. Okay, so the background color, I'm guessing, is one of these. I don't know which one it is. Let's see, open up the active states. Anyway, let's just grab these colors and let's go to our index, and I'm just gonna put these here. And I think you do like root, and you can do like different colors here. So I can say like strong. I don't know if I'm even doing these right. I haven't done like CSS variables in a while. Var dark grayish. I don't know if I need to put like the var in front of it actually, now that I think about it. I might just be able to do this. Anyway, let's just make sure this works. I'm gonna do 3 of those colors. And then on the body itself, I'm gonna say background is var, and then I'm gonna try strong cyan and see if that changes the background. Okay, so we got that going good. Although I don't know if that's the right color. It looks like they're using like a light cyan. It's probably this light grayish cyan here. Let's just keep going. Do that. We'll say light grayish cyan. It's kind of tedious, but I guess it needs to be done, right? Not sure why they have a white variable. You can just use the built-in white. All right, so we got some colors set up. Let's just go ahead and change the background to that one and see if it works. I think that looks okay. So someone asked, what are we trying to achieve? So I'm on frontendmentor.io, and they give you challenges. And one of the challenges is building out this tip calculator. So a user should be able to type in an amount of like your bill, click on a tip amount, and that'll kind of present how much you owe on the right here. What's up, Peter? Body copy, font size is 24. Let's just change the body font size. So I'll say like font size is 24 pixels. They use a font family of space mono. So I might have to go and get that set up. Looks like I could just copy some of this stuff, put it directly in my HTML. I'll put it here, I guess. And once you do that, you should be able to change your font family to space mono by copying this example over here. And we will put that on the body. Let's see if this works. Okay, I think that looks like it's working. Cool, cool. Thoughts on VS Code versus WebStorm? I only use VS Code. I know WebStorm and IntelliJ and stuff like that they usually have a lot better like functionality in terms of refactoring sometimes. But I like the customization of like VS Code. You can like install extensions really easily and stuff. All right, I might separate this to a separate style sheet. So I'll just do like styles.css. And we can go ahead and just put all that in there. Cut this out, put it in there, save it. Let's go back. And I always forget I think it's this, like the format for importing external style sheets. But I think it's just this. Let's see if the styles still show up. Let's go down here and let's make sure that we get a request for styles. There it is. So it's all working. Obviously it's working because you can see the styles are being applied. What browser do you use? I'm using I'm using Chrome. This is just Chrome. Okay. So how do we make a panel? I think we're done with this, right? I mean, we can come back for the mobile design stuff, but how do we make this panel? And this text up here. So maybe we could do like a flex box just to kind of center it directly in the center of the page. And I might wrap this whole thing in a panel. So I'll make a div, or maybe we can make a section or something. I'll just call it panel. I might give this a class, actually, not an ID. So we'll give it a class of panel, and then we'll go back to styles here and go ahead and try to style that class of .panel. And let's just give it a background of var white. Okay, so this should, there we go. We got like a little white color here. Someone's asking why not use Tailwind for this one? Makes it easier for you and more iterative. No. Because I think the front end Mentor challenges are kind of geared towards like beginners trying to learn CSS and styling and stuff like that. So I'm kind of avoiding pulling in Tailwind. I think it's good to understand like lower level CSS as well. And it's fun to go back to the roots and like play with it. But yeah, you could try to solve this problem using CSS. You could Tailwind CSS. You can solve it using like React and stuff. I just wanted to kind of build off of the vanilla things that the browser kind of provides us out of the box. Someone says use Next font. This project is not in Next. Yeah, it says use whatever you want. So does that kind of answer your question? I used whatever I want, which is vanilla CSS and vanilla JavaScript. Let's go here. I'm going to add some rounding to the edges of this panel. So let's give it a border radius. Maybe we can do like 20 pixels and see how that looks. And then probably also some padding, 20 pixels to bring it in. And then also on the body, you could probably give this a display of flex and then justify content. Could be center, align items, could be center. Now I think the issue is that the body is probably not full width. So I need to like go to the body, or sorry, full height, and say like 100 VH, so that it's the full height of the page. I think it's good to raw dog these kind of projects to keep your fundamentals sharp. That's a good way to explain it, and I do agree. That's probably the funniest comment I've read today. Yeah, I'm not going mobile first. Well, it's also for me, right? Okay, so let me address the comment from Narc. Let me zoom in a little bit. I think he wants to use CSS so people watching can understand too, geared towards beginners. Yeah, that's kind of the main goal. I mean, my channel is kind of geared for teaching beginners how to code. I know I have a lot of like intermediate content as well. But it's also for me, right? I've been using Tailwind CSS so much on my side projects that I feel like I've forgotten how to actually code in CSS, which you could argue is not that big of a deal, but I think it is kind of a problem when I'm struggling to do simple things in CSS because I've memorized all the Tailwind stuff. Okay, let's look at the picture. So this has like a thing in it, and it has a left and a right? So you could use CSS Grid, or you could potentially use Flexbox. I might try to use an inner wrapper for this, or just give the panel a grid display. Okay, so let's go back to code. HTML body 100% is better. Yeah, I could do that. Oops. 100% is better. Well, that didn't work because I think I also need to go and say HTML and body, and then I had to go height 100% on that. But I do think I can't do that because when I do that, can't have body overwritten twice, maybe. Yeah, the challenge is frontendmentor.io. I could put the link here. That's the one I'm doing right now. But yeah, some of them are free, some of them are not. All right, so on the panel itself, I'll say display a grid. You know, one thing I noticed is that my IntelliSense for CSS is not working. VS Code, CSS, IntelliSense. That's something you have to like turn on. There we go. Don't know why that's not on by default in VS Code, but I had to manually turn that on my config. All right, so I'm trying to add grid display to my panel here. And then I'm also trying to give it like a grid template columns. And I want to give it 1FR, 1FR. That's how you can potentially make two grids inside the panel. Okay, we got two panels here, or two columns is what I'm trying to say. We got two columns inside of that. Let's go back here. So first we need to add on the left column, we need to add a bill and an input. So we could try doing that. And then when you're using CSS Grid, I'll just make two divs in here so that we can have the bill, which could be a label. And then we can have an input like this. There we go, bill, and that thing needs to be I'll make this a form. Instead of a div, we should probably do a form here. Like that. And then I want to kind of put the layout being column. So I might actually on the form itself, I'll say panel form. I'm going to go say display is grid, or not grid. I want flex, my bad. I'll say flex, and I'll say flex direction is column. And let's look at the page here. Okay, so now they're all kind of like vertically set up. What else do we want? We want a select tip. I guess we could make the width of the correct size. It's hurting my eyes. Yeah, I could do that real quick. I don't know what this width is. I mean, we could probably just give it like 400 on the panel. So the panel could be like width of 400. You might want to do like a max or min width instead. Okay, maybe that's a little bit too low. I think maybe 600. That looks better. Yeah, so we could just slowly start styling the things and go down. So this is like a numeric input, I believe. And it looks like it has, when you hover over the input, it has like a border of that teal. What teal would that be? Probably the strong cyan. So I'm just gonna go ahead and style all inputs to have the outline. I think it's called outline, or is it border? I don't remember. Use a percentage for the width. Yeah, I could do that. Is it just focus? I'm gonna give it a border of 1 pixel solid var strong cyan. Let's see if this works. So I wanted to basically, when I click it, okay, that's not a border, that's outline. Okay, that looks okay. It's super small, so like let's add some padding to the inputs, maybe 10 pixels. And then I don't know what color the or what font size we should use here. This looks pretty large, right? This looks like maybe 28 pixels or something. So I'll say font size 28 pixels. That's probably too big, but they typed 142.55. 142.55. And the color of that thing is, looks like that, it's like a light blue. So do we have a light blue here? Maybe it's this very dark cyan. Try that. We'll say color of the input. And we'll say color var very dark cyan. Let's see if that actually makes it. Yeah, this looks good. A little bit big, so I might do like a 22 pixels instead. Yeah, I'll worry about like the responsive and mobile stuff later. I just wanted to get it to look decent. And I'm probably applying things, instead of applying it to focus, like this should actually be on the input itself. Input : focus. No, I think it's just one comma for focus. Anyway, I would like it so that this is accessible. So like the label should be attached to the input. So let's go back here and I'll say HTML. Actually, no, it's called like for. So this thing needs to be called like the bill. And I'll say for bill. So now I can click on the label and it'll select the input. We probably want to make this a type numeric as well. So like we'll say type equals numeric, or is it number? It's number. So now I can't type letters. Instead, I can only type like numbers. Okay, let's just continue on. Excuse me. We could probably. Do I want to use gap here? Or I want to use margin bottom. I might just do some margin bottom to some of the stuff. So like on this. I'll figure that out later. Okay, let's just do the next input section. So This is a selected tip percent. Selected tip percent. I don't remember if that was capital T. It was. And this thing has 6 things in it that are, I guess, we could do styled radio buttons. Well, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are probably radio buttons. My man back sitting like it's a Twitch gameplay. What does that mean? Oh, back seating? Yeah, people like the backseat drive, backseat program when I do these things. That's cool. We're all kind of learning together, I guess. Okay, so select a tip. What we want here is we want like a bunch of inputs. So for selected tip, I'll say for tip, and then we're gonna do some inputs. I don't remember how to do this. Is it radio? Type radio. Value is going to be equal to 5%. I'll just put 5. Here's this size. Okay. 5, 10, 15, 20, and then was it 25? Oh, 5, 10, 15, 25, 50. All right, let's add some labels to these things. This will be 5%. And I think I could potentially put the input inside the label. I don't know if that's proper. Hold on, let's put the 5% after the input. Okay. I'm gonna style this in a bit. It's moments like these where I wish I had like React, because it'd be so much easier just to do a map over like values. But I guess just duplicating this stuff isn't that big of a deal. Yeah, they probably all need the same name. And this needs to be tip, so that I can't like select all of them at the same time. And then I'm making sure I can tap through everything to make sure it's accessible. Seems pretty good. But if you look here, I don't even know if using radio buttons is a good idea at this point, because we do have like a custom thing over here you can type into. So I have to add like another input after the 50%. So down here, I'd have to add, let me move this one to the other thing. I'm gonna go ahead and delete like all this stuff. Okay, so like there's a custom input here that needs to be for typing in, I guess, custom amounts. But let's try to make this, I guess CSS grid, we can do 3 rows or 3 columns and 2 rows. And we can kind of wrap all of these things. I don't know if I should be using a label here. Let's do a field set. And we're going to go ahead and wrap this whole thing in a field set. And we'll call this name. We'll give this a class of tip. I don't know, I'll just give it tip. But anyway, what I'm trying to do is I want to style the field set that has a tip class on it. And by the way, I won't even follow my CSS naming conventions because I'm I'm just kind of hacking at it. But you could potentially say inside this form, like I could give the form an actual like name. But if this was like in React, I'd have this be like scoped to the page, so I wouldn't worry too much about the naming. You know, screw it. I'm just gonna say tip. Tip amounts. Whatever. Anyway, what I'm trying to do here is I want to give this a display of grid, and then I'm going to give it a grid template columns of 3 columns. I know you can do repeat. I think it's like this if you wanted to, and that's how you can make 3 columns, 2 rows. Looks okay. Yeah, I hate front end work. It's just a bunch of tedious stuff and like making sure everything looks like the picture, which isn't fun. Some people enjoy it. I don't know. I think it's just a lot of work. But I think we need to find a way to customly style these inputs, which I know I have done before. I might have to Google it. You kind of have to like overwrite the actually, what am I trying to say? Why are these not in like the same? Hold on a second. I would assume that these would have been like the same width. I thought that's how the grid template stuff's supposed to work, but I'm guessing this input is probably like messing that up a little bit. I'm gonna name this one custom tip. Yeah, the input was like messing up the layout of everything. Let's do CSS grid fixed width. Min max 100 pixels 1FR. I mean, I really think it's because this input was like allowed to do whatever it wants. If I try width of 100% there, oops. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. One thing I might apply to everything is border box. What is it called? Border box. I don't remember what this one's called. It's called like box sizing border box. And I might apply that to everything up here. I'll just say star border box. Okay, because there was like a little issue with the input that was like going off the page. So for the field set, I might get rid of this little like outline. So I'm gonna go ahead down here, and I do believe it's called tips amounts. Tips amounts, yeah, whatever. And we'll say border of none. There we go. All right. That looks okay. So I want to figure out CSS Stack Overflow, how to overwrite input style. Radio input type or radio display of none. I remember there's like another way to do this. It looks like this is how they're doing it here. They're like making the radio look like a custom thing here. So let's just read through this real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and just grab this code. You can't override the input styles for radios. You should use their labels. Field set the label. I'm gonna try this. Okay, so that gets rid of the little circle. I'm trying to solve this problem. I'm on a website called Frontend Mentor.io. They have challenges you can do to kind of practice your front end skills and CSS skills and whatever. I'm trying to build this to answer your question, Sajith. Yeah, so they are styling the label. Let's see how this code looks. Let's just copy all the code, right? I don't know how to do this, so I'll just go ahead and copy what people do online. And then we can kind of style it. All right, let's see. If I select these, does it actually do anything? All right, so the label has a display color of this, some padding, font family, font size, okay, whatever. Type of radio if it's checked. Oh, this is saying plus labels, so we'd have to kind of rechange. We can change this up a little bit. Like they're just basically having the input be directly after the label. But if we did that, I think it's going to mess up some of our stuff. So we could instead, I don't know if it's bad practice to have like inputs nested inside of labels, but that's kind of like the practice you're supposed to do. But I could actually just do this. So the label, or sorry, the input that's inside the label might move this down here. Do that. You should change the class name in CSS. Okay, how are they doing the HTML? I'm gonna have to go back and like look at this real quick. So they have the input in the label. I'm nesting the input inside the label. So I could potentially just kind of change up my code a little bit to make it match theirs. Change the class in CSS. What do you mean by that? Tip amounts. Tip amounts, label, input, type radio. You select radio. In the HTML, the label should be after the input. Change the class in CSS. You select radio. Okay. I'm just going to do this because this is the example that they have. Oh, wait. Yeah, let's go back. People are saying my CSS says radio toolbar. Ah, thank you all. Let's see if that fixes the issue. All right, Sajith, you're doing this again. I'm actually gonna ban you this time if you keep spamming. It's kind of annoying, I'll be honest. You did this the last time I did a front end mentor, and you're doing it again. All right, let's just do a timeout. There we go. Let's improve the quality of our stream chat by putting someone in timeout. All right, let's just double check the code I copied, because obviously I copied some code that was from an example that we're not doing. So let's make sure that, okay, yeah, screw this. I'm just gonna go ahead and just move this out. I wanna see what happens if I were to put some of these outside. It's gonna mess up our CSS grid, but that's fine. We'll figure this out. And then instead of doing label this, I will just do this. Why can I now select the input? You need to change the background for label, so select :has input type checkbox. I mean, let's just see if we can get it working with the exact same thing that he's doing here. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. Probably something simple. I mean, he's doing a plus label here. And he has the radio coming first. So okay, let's do that. Focus, let's do that. The labels don't have a for attribute. Yep, that is actually the problem. So this needs to be for. Actually, does he do that? Radio apple, radio orange. Oh, okay. Cool. So all these, I need to say radio 5. This will be like for 5%. I'm just going to add IDs to all these, and here I'll say radio 5, just so that I can actually click on these things. I think that was the original issue, which, yeah, there we go. Thank you for that suggestion. I'll say radio 10 for radio 10, radio, oh, sorry, ID radio 15 for radio 15. Okay, this is getting tedious, so I'll just do this. Who would have thought I'd taken a whole hour to style some radio buttons? Okay, let's see if this works. Can I select them all? All but 50. I screwed 50 up somewhere. Okay, that looks okay. Now I'm gonna remove some of this like empty space. I don't think it's actually gonna cause issues, but I don't think I want those. Oh, cool. Well, I mean, it's kind of working. All right, let's just change the styling of this. I'll give it a background of that dark cyan if it's selected. So like we'll do the label, we'll have a background of the var dark. Was it very dark cyan? Yeah. And then it needs a white text. I'll say color is var white. But then if it's selected, I will say color is very dark cyan here. And get rid of that border stuff. But then I need to make it what, a background color of like the light cyan. Which one is that one? Is it strong cyan? Yeah, I think it's a strong cyan. Cool, cool. I don't like the rounded stuff. I don't think we want that. All right, can we do gap? Is there a way to do gaps for this stuff? Like if we do gap of 10 pixels, is that? Yeah, okay. I thought it only worked for flex, but it works for grid as well, which is cool. All right. I'm just reading through chat real quick. Grid template works with fixing the height of the rows. Grid template rows. What would I add to the grid template rows? Let's see what options we have. Gap between bill and text. Add the label and input inside a div. I think it's fine to, yeah, I probably do need to do that if it's a grid. Yeah, I want to make these like the same width. I think if I could just give them like like over here. I think the div that's inside of these things, like I guess I should, I don't know. Let's just do this to try it out. I'm gonna go ahead and say width 100%. See if that'll expand. I guess what I'm trying to do is make this thing. I guess the label would have to be width 100% as well. I might not need this one, but I might need to do width 100% here. Okay, there we go. Someone asked, why don't you write CSS in Chrome DevTools? I am a front-end engineer since 6 years, and this confuses me. Because from my experience, what I've done in the past is I'll make changes to my DevTools, and then I will forget to like copy and paste them over to my actual code and save it. So I rather just modify the code directly and go back and look at it. Maybe there's a way you guys might know to like automatically have this thing update the styles of your CSS in your VS Code editor when you type into it. And if that's the case, then yeah, that's probably pretty cool. Make the label center with text align. Yeah, I could do that. Why not doing it in React? Because I chose not to. So I think maybe the label itself should have a height of 100% as well. Is that even thing? There we go. I might do that so it's consistent with that input there. So label will say height of 100%. You know, I might actually, instead of text align here, I'll just say display of grid. Or sorry, display flex. Justify content center align items. Center. There, that looks a little bit better, right? Um, so the alignment over here, like this has some extra, like, I must have some padding on the field set or something. Yeah, there's padding. Where's that padding coming from? Let's go to computed. Somewhere this padding is coming from something. Padding block end. I think it's just the field set has like default styles on it or something. So I will just do tip amounts and I'll say padding of 0 pixels. I guess I could just say 0. I should turn off the padding. Yeah, cursor pointer. That's probably important. Cursor pointer. I think that was off the screen, but you guys can see. And then probably hovering over these things, we should probably style those differently. So I'll just go ahead and say on hover. Kind of curious what it should look like. I mean, the selected one is the light cyan, so maybe we should go here and do like a light grayish cyan, or we could just give it a border or something, or an outline. I don't know if it actually tells you like what the hover state is. Oh, that was a hover state. The selected is a darker one, the hover is a lighter one. So I need to do that. So this one, when you hover, I think I want to do this. Oops, wrong one. But when you select it, I don't know what I want to do. There's strong cyan, but then when you select it, it's like that darker one, which I guess is very dark cyan. Wait, hold on. Okay, I think the hover needs to be the very light. Do you guys actually find front-end development fun? Like, I don't find this fun. It's just so tedious. Maybe it's because I suck at it. But it'd be better just to make the padding match on the text input. Add hover to line number 98. Line number 80. Hover. Get rid of this one real quick. Do we have a border on these active states? It doesn't seem like it. So it looks like I need to get rid of the border when it's like checked. Maybe I can get rid of the border on everything. I guess it needs to be on the label, not the input. Okay, let's see. Does that do it? Good enough. Inspect the text input on the second row. I just want to see if it has padding. The text input on the second row. Like here? I don't see on the computed. It does have a little bit of, well, the radio input has a padding, yeah. But the text is just a text node. Anyway, let's just move on. I mean, we spent like so much time on freaking buttons. Like, I hate CSS. Let's move on to number of people. Just grab this. And we will go under the field set and we'll just say number of people. And again, this should probably be a numeric. Oops. Deleted that on accident. All right, so input, this will be people, 4 people. Sorry, I typed numbers, so that's good. Probably add some min. I think cannot be 0. So we should do a min equals to like 1. So you can't type. Wait, I thought it was supposed to be min. Isn't it min? I guess it will fail in form validation or something. Yeah, I do like full stack. I will say that we use like a CSS library that has like all the widgets already styled for us. So I don't really touch CSS that much, to be honest. I would say 5% or less of my coding week, probably even like 2% is touching CSS. Most of it's working with the React and the JavaScript and the back-end code of things. Okay, what do you think about Vim? I think it's fine. I personally don't want to spend time setting up my own Vim config and like wasting time with that, but I think you can be pretty proficient at coding in Vim. Div class input wrap label number of people. My dad phone, GG. Why do you recommend wrapping the input in this thing? Anyway, yeah, let's go back. Can we like get some like JavaScript going? Because I don't know how long I'm gonna stream for this. Let's just on the right side, let's add like another like estimates or results. No, for our CSS library, we have to use the US web design systems. So basically for every United States website, like any of the government websites, we're trying to make them all consistent. So for example, if you want to use an alert, you probably want it to look like this, so that as you know, United States citizens go to these different like government websites, they have a consistent look and feel between all of the government websites. So this is what we have to use. So I don't really touch CSS that much, to be honest. Oops. Yeah, I should add. I think this is what Sajith was talking about. Like, we should probably wrap these things so we can add some gap between these things. Just do this for right now. So this is a field set. This thing probably needs to be a div. And this thing probably needs to be a div as well. I mean, or you could add some like margin to the bottom of this. Because I think if I do this, it's going to mess up like all of my styling. Maybe. Let me undo what I'm doing. Let's not get distracted. I was trying to focus on the JavaScript, but... Okay, so the right side panel, let's just go down here and we're going to give this a class of like results. How about that? And we're going to try to style this panel. So let's go here and I'll say dot results. And we want to give this a background of our... I think it's very dark cyan. Okay, and then we should probably give it a button. So down here, I'll give it a button that says reset. How nice that looks. Okay, so the default color of this whole panel, I'm going to make it like What do I want to make it? I guess I could just make it white. There we go. Probably give this some padding, 10 pixels, border radius, 10 pixels. Maybe more than that. This looks like it might be a padding of like 20 or 30. Cool. And then between the results panel and the other panel, like I think what I want to do is the entire panel itself. Let me delete the attributions. But the entire panel itself, like we should add some gap between these two things. Okay. Right now, I'm just going to add margin bottom to the inputs. Probably people say that that's not a good approach, but whatever. So I do need to like, I might just add a little utility class here. Let's do like a margin bottom. This is to bring some like tailwind, some utility classes. Do 20 pixels, I guess. Or I could do some type of like selectors or something. Here we go. I'm just thinking and reading chat. Let's see. So let's go ahead and look at this again. So we want like a section that says tip amount per person. And that needs to have some output text here. So let's go ahead and try doing that. We could have maybe a div here. And then on the left of that div, I'm just going to do divs right now and I'll come back and maybe do like more semantic HTML. This is per person. And this is tip amount. Okay, so this one could potentially be, is there properties aside for some of this stuff? Like I could have results. This is going to be a row. So it's a row with 2 columns again. How virus clear? How virus see? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm trying to watch some dad work. Are we missing the font? We might be. Might be missing the font. I mean, I think it's being loaded. Let's just refresh the page. I mean, it's being loaded from here. Sophia Sands. I guess the easiest way to verify the font would be like go here and just comment out the font. Which was this one. Yeah, the font's working fine. All right, so this row, let's just go ahead and give it like a display column or a grid. I mean, so we'll say row. So here we'll give it display grid template columns, and I will do 1FR again. And then we're going to go ahead and inside of this one on the left, we want to give it like a flex. So it's 2 different things. I'll just do this. And we'll give it a tip amount and a person. I mean, that should by default just like put them on the same thing, right? And on the right here, we're going to put money 0.00. Okay. Font weight of 700, first column tip amount. total person. So we'll say total here. All right, it's looking a little bit better. Probably not the best, but let's just keep working through it. I need to change some coloring of this. So the actual like number here needs to be that more blue. So I could potentially just put the row, and then I could say the aside is going to be that blue. So I could say color var very strong cyan, I think. Cool. The font size is pretty big, and I should probably align the tip amount to the right, maybe. I don't know. We'll say font size is like 24 pixels here, but then on the row itself, we'll say font size of 14 pixels and see how that looks. Yeah, it's a little small. We'll do 16. And then we will give this a margin bottom. Let's try 20 pixels again directly on this. Or if I want to like not use margins on those, I could just, again, just say MB2 here. What color is the text here? The person thing has to be a different color, so I have to add a new class here, potentially. And I could just have this be called like gray, maybe. Or text gray. At this point now I'm like mixing atomic CSS with normal CSS. I don't know if that's good, but I could foresee like having different colors having to be used on different areas. Darkish grayish cyan, grayish cyan. Let's see. Let's see if that makes it look okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. Text input, text align right. Yep, we could do that. There we go. Now it's aligned to the right. I'm not sure why the color of the input has changed. I thought I had this working fine. Or maybe it is. No, it's not the right color anymore. So somewhere I messed up the input color, I think. So hard to tell. Is this the right color? Yeah, that's the right color. I think the difference between what I'm seeing in the browser and like what I need to do is they have it when the input is being, I don't know if it's when it's being focused, but this is like a light cyan as well. So I don't know if I need to say like background is the light cyan. It's definitely not that one. Let me try the very light. I feel like something is broken here. Focus and outline of the input. Like this used to be styled properly. Let me try doing this. Okay, let's just get rid of the border on the input itself. There we go. And I don't know what it's supposed to look like when you're not. Oh yeah, it's supposed to look like this. So we could probably add some placeholders to this. Where's the input? We could add a placeholder of 0. Same thing with the other one down here, number of people. It should default to 1 though. I don't know why they have 0. Yeah, if number of people has to be greater than 1, I'm not sure why it would be 0. this rounded? Yeah, it looks like the input is rounded too. So I need to go back and just give this a border radius of, I'll do like 8 pixels. Anyway, let's just focus on the right side and the JavaScript still. I think that's kind of what I wanted to do. Why would you split if it's 0? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay, let's just push this thing to the right. So I think down here we have the row and we have the aside. So I'll say text align right. That looks a little bit better. So when you type into the bill, let's just put an on-change listener here. And this will be the interesting part to figure out. So on the input itself, we want to listen for when this thing changes. So this thing has an ID of bill. And I'm just going to go ahead and be a hack developer and put the script tag here at the body. We can external this if we wanted to. But I'm going to go ahead and say document get element by ID. And we want to grab the one called, I don't know what it's called. Was it called Bill? Yeah, we want to grab Bill. I'll do this. I'll put it to a variable. And I'll say Bill L dot add event listener. I think it's change. And when it changes, we could do this. Let's make sure this thing prints out what we want. So I'm going to go to the console down here. Go ahead and type in like 20. Oh yeah, I don't need that. I don't need the hash symbol here. It's just Bill. Okay. So the only issue with change is I believe you have to unfocus it for it to lock on to that change event. I think there's another one called like, is it just input? I think it's just input. So as I type like 200, those inputs pop up. Okay, so I wonder if we should default this to be like a tip to be selected or something. Do they have that in theirs? They don't. In fact, they have a custom button you can select. So that'll be even more logic to have to figure that out. But so what I'm gonna do is when you type in 100, I want to go ahead and just like display the tip amount of 0 and total of 0. So let's go back to where we're displaying some of the stuff and let's add some IDs so that we can actually like dynamically change this content. So I will say ID and this will be called total. And over here, we'll give an ID of tip amount. You know, I'm going to go ahead and say total amount as well. Now we have ways to basically grab these things. And in fact, so that I don't have to worry about the money symbol. I wonder if I should just do a span inside of this. I don't know. All right, let's just do this. I'll say tip amount equals document.get element by ID. Go ahead and do this, and then we'll say total amount. Okay, so when the input changes, Narc saying the fact that GPT 5.5 Turbo is only 500 gigabytes and can encompass the majority of important information on the internet in this parameters is crazy, considering that data itself is probably petabytes. Yeah, I mean, I do think that's pretty crazy. I think most of the information online is really duplicated. I don't know if I said that right. So it kind of makes sense that they could take all this data and like find a minimal subset of most important information. Because like you'll go to a blog post about cooking cinnamon rolls and like they're literally all the same steps other than maybe like a couple of ingredients. So I guess if you can write a system that's smart enough to kind of parse down that data set, I guess that makes sense. But I'm sure there's information that it doesn't know about. Like I'm sure there's stuff they left off. So what I'm trying to do, when the user types into the input, I want to basically take the numeric value that they typed in, which I do think there's another way to do that. Isn't it called like input as something as number, value as number? I don't remember. CSS input on change value as number. Isn't that how you do it? I think it's called value as number. Let's see what happens if I do this. Does this still work? Okay, it's printing a number now. So that just makes it a little bit easier to get the actual number that was typed in. So I'm going to say the bill is equal to this. And then I want to basically set the total amount. So I'll say total amount dot text node. Or sorry, it's called inner text. That's going to be equal to the interpolation of a money followed by the bill okay. Tip amount. So if I were to select 5, let's start doing the JavaScript for selecting the tip amount. So we're going to go back and we're going to find where we do that. Field set, tip, input. You know, I don't remember how to do this. How do you add an event listener? I guess it'd be for every input that has the name tip. You could add an input listener, a change listener, I guess. Okay, let's go back here. And I will say tip amount, tip else is equal to document query selector all. We want to get all the inputs that have a name of tip. I don't know if this is the right way to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and just loop over those. So for each tip L, we're going to go ahead and just add an event listener. So tip L.add event listener, probably a change, or maybe it needs to be an input as well. I don't know. Let's see what happens if I do this. So if I select on these things, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 50, can I do value as number here again? Nope. Okay, so this has to be value. And as I'm selecting these different inputs, what we could potentially do is we could change the tip amount. Oh, let me change, 1 second. Let me refactor this one. I like to suffix things with L's so that I know that it's an element versus like an actual variable. That might make it a little bit easier. But we could say tip amount is equal to this value that they selected. So I could say parse int. And we want to get the numeric value. So this would be like 5. But we want to get the percentage, right? So we have to divide it by 100. And then we want to times that by the bill amount, which I guess we could just say bill L dot, isn't it value? But then this is probably going to be a string, so we probably have to like parse int that. Or parse float it actually, because it's a float. And then we want to display it. So tip amount total dot inner text is equal to, probably interpolate this. Should be inside the change, right? Yes, it should be. Yeah, I don't know why I'm putting it down there. So I'll make sure I put it in the right place. Okay, we've got some not a number stuff going on, so we'll have to fix that. But let's do 100 and then select 5, 10, 15, 25. Okay. It kind of works, but this isn't going to be great because, like, if I change the bill now, it doesn't recompute the tip amount. So it might just be old habits die hard, like for each. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could technically do it. I just know there's sometimes when I'm trying to like loop over nodes, sometimes it doesn't work. Like I don't know if I can explain like the issue I'm talking about. Let's just do this. But we could potentially do this. Let's just see what happens. I think it'll be the exact same code. Do 100. Yeah, it's the same code. I don't know. For some reason, I just like the for each. But to each their own. So I'm going to kind of refactor this code a little bit so that when I change the bill amount, it can recalculate everything. So I'm actually going to make a function here that says like recalculate totals. Okay, and what this needs to do is we need to basically, I don't know if I want it to be coupled to the DOM at all. Maybe we could just have it return some stuff. Okay, so instead of this, I'm going to go ahead and just say recalculate totals. I'll figure out a better solution. I'm not sure if I want to couple this function to know about the DOM elements as well. It's kind of accessing a lot of globals, which isn't the best. So as I type in, we could potentially do this as well. We don't even care about this anymore because we can get this. This could come from bill L dot value. E is not defined. Let's just try this. I don't know. Recalculate. Okay, E. So technically I don't have the E anymore, and I don't need the E because I know what tip amount is. I can just do tip amount L, and I can just say value. I might have to parse float it though. Actually, I don't need to parse float it. It's fine. Okay, so little bug. Let's figure this out. I'm gonna add a debugger here. I mean, I could probably just look at this code and figure out what I'm doing wrong, but sometimes it's easier to just like just add another that, and I will click the 5, and that should call recalculate totals. And if we step through this, tip amount is not a number. It should have been 5% times tip amount L. Oh, because this is an input. Okay, so that's an issue. Okay, so I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to have recalculate totals take in a bill amount, and it's also going to take in a tip amount. And that is going to basically allow us to not worry. Do this. Tip percentage. Let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and take that a tip percentage, divide that by 100, times it by the bill amount, which is passed in, which I'm going to assume is already a float. Then we could potentially just use those, tip amount and bill. We probably need to do a total here as well. Calculate total. And then I'm going to go ahead and take in the E here, because I do believe we do need the E. And I could simply just say e dot current value or current target value as number. So that would be the tip amount or the tip percentage, I guess. But this one we could do bill L dot value as number. Oh yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Okay, I'm just playing around with the code. This thing, technically, I think the issue is as you change the actual like bill amount, or sorry, the tip amount. I'm gonna cache this. Tip percentage is equal to e dot current target dot value as number. And I'm gonna put a let up here and just equal that to 0%. So what I'm gonna do is when they change the actual like tip amount, it's gonna update this variable up here so that we can potentially use it down here when they update just the bill input. So like this could come from here, and this would be e dot. At this point, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just changing code because I don't know what I'm doing. And this one I can call recalculate totals, and I could use bill L dot value. I see, I don't think value as number exists on the DOM element, right? Like that's only for events. So I don't think this one will work. But anyway, we could just use tip percentage here. All right, let's do 100. Yeah, I don't think I can do that. I have to do value, and then I say parse int. I miss React. I don't like vanilla JS. There's just so much boilerplate you have to write. All right, let me just take like a 30-second breather. There is no bill variable. Total amounts L where because there is no bill available. Yeah, this one needs to be bill amount, not bill. Okay, let's just slow down. When I select on a tip, that is changing the tip percentage to be something. I might as well just console log that out. Make sure it works. Click on 5. We get tip percentage of not a number. So this thing for some reason is not a number. Because I probably have to do like parse float. Or parse int here. Yeah, I know. When your life's too easy, like just go back to vanilla JS and really force yourself to struggle. Get back to your roots and understand what real struggle's like. And it makes you really appreciate these frameworks because like, first of all, I'm not using TypeScript. So it sucks because I don't get any IntelliSense. It doesn't tell me if I'm passing strings to things that need integers. I can't type these things. That's the first issue. I don't recall like what has value as number and what doesn't have value as number. So I might as well just use value for everything just to play it safe. And we could just parse float it just so that we play it safe all through our code base. Now when I select the tip amount, it's probably grabbing some type of undefined value here. So I need to default this to whatever bill is. Bill bill value. Here, I'll say bill amount is equal to this value. I'm going to parse float this, but then if it's not defined, let's just fall back on 0. So that doesn't crash my UI, although it is still crashing my UI, so doing something wrong there. Let's just throw a debugger in here. So when I click on 5%, what are the values we're getting? Bill amount is not a number. Bill L value is an empty. Okay, that's why. So I can't use nullish coalesce because it actually is an empty string, so I have to do a fallback. That's cool. Okay, so now bill amount 0. Tip percentage is 5. If I recalculate, that looks like it's good. Okay, and here's another thing you gotta check for. If the input's too big, it's going off the screen, so I have to like fix it to 2 decimals. But really, that's like a presentational thing, which would be this part. So this should be like a 2 fixed. I think it's just you put .2 here. But I think tip amount is actually a number, so 2 fixed will not. Does that work on numbers? I guess so. Okay, I think it's working a little bit better. Although I think total actually needs to say, I need to add the tip amount to the bill amount, right? That's probably important to do. Okay, so the total amount actually needs to be the bill amount plus the tip amount, and this thing can be fixed there. Let's see if this works. So if I do 100 and I'm going to do 10%, then the total is $110. Into amount and number of people cannot be 0 before selecting the tip. What's the point of the number of people? Oh, I have to divide it by the number of people. So if this is 5, what is the purpose of this little widget? If you have 5 people and the bill is $50, but you want to do a 10% tip, then you'll get a total of 110, but then you need to divide it by 5. Both of these need to be divided by 5, right? So let's go back to the people. Where's that? Number of people, ID is called people. Const total people equals document dot get element by ID. Let's just go ahead and grab the people. Make sure I add L suffix here. Okay, so the difference is bill amount, tip percentage, total people is equal to this dot value. Fall back on 1. Parse int. Okay, so let's do that first. The tip amount would be the tip percentage times the bill amount, and then we could potentially just make another one called tip amount per person is equal to tip amount divided by this. Total per person is equal to total divided by total people. I know, it'd be so much easier if we just don't have to tip, right? Just pay your people a normal living wage and we don't have to tip people. Okay, let's try this. I don't have an on-change listener to this one either. Isn't this great? Isn't this great? Let's just do another one. We'll call this total people L. Probably it's hidden by my screen, so sorry about that. When someone changes this thing, we want to recalculate the totals yet again. Where's the bill L? Bill L. Okay, I'm gonna make a function here called get bill. That's just gonna return this so that like I don't have to like copy and paste this everywhere. And I'm gonna go ahead and just pass that here. I'm gonna pass that here. Bill amount. I'm gonna pass that there as well. I wanted to make this more consistent, and the number of people might need to be passed in. I don't know. Does that work? When the tip goes up, oh, duh. All right, y'all help me verify my logic. If the bill's $100, I do a 10% tip, and then I say 5 people. That means every person needs to pay this divided by 5, right? Which should be $22. So 22 tip amount per person is 2. I think I have the logic right. I think this seems right. Okay, so now we gotta implement a reset button. Okay, so reset button. Let's just go ahead and give this an ID called reset. This one hopefully should be easy. So we're gonna go ahead and just grab the reset L from this page, call it reset, and we're gonna add an event listener here. We'll just go ahead and add it to the bottom, I guess, and I'll say add event listener. When we click it, we'll call something, and we are going to basically reset all these things back to 0. So the tip amount L dot value, I'm gonna set it back to empty string. Maybe that'll reset it. The bill amount L, like what did I call that one? I just called it bill L. So the bill L dot value equals empty string. The people L dot value empty string, and then recalculate the totals of 0 and 0. Actually, this one probably needs to be 1, right? This is a mess. 110, 5, click reset. It all resets everything. Well, this is still selected. So how do we unselect that? I think you actually have to like I would have to go into the DOM element that's selected and uncheck it. Yeah, so for everyone watching, this is exactly why we use Svelte. This is why we use React. This is why we use Vue. All this stuff with me having to like manage these DOM elements and reset them and get them back to the values they were before. This is like trivial when you're using React. With Vanilla.js, maybe because I'm a noob with Vanilla.js these days, there's just so much extra stuff you have to like think about and do, because I can't just easily reset total people L back to 0, I gotta go and I gotta find out how to like find the one that's checked and then like uncheck it. So I have to do like document.get. I could say query selector. And then I need to find the input that's checked. So I could find like an input with a name of tip. Input, name of tip, query selector, all of that thing. I'll say for each. And then I'll say tip dot checked is equal to false. Yeah, I mean, that's how you do it, but that's just so much extra garbage just to get something simple going. All right, so if I click reset, it should reset it back to 0. Type in 100, but my selected tip is still set to 15. So even though I like reset it, when I click the reset button, oh, I need to reset tip percentage back to 0. The theme I'm using is called Bearded Theme. Bearded Theme. So this one. Oh yeah, I could do a form.reset. Maybe that's much easier. Document.get element by tag name. Let's just try doing form and then I'll say reset. Does this actually solve our problem? I think I still have to do this because I stored this in like a variable, which maybe I could just abstract that away as well. So I could say like get tip percent, and this could return right now the tip percentage. But instead of having all my code depending on that, you know, I'm changing too much. I think I changed some code. I need to verify it works first. Okay, let's see if the form reset works. Okay, get element by tag name is not a function. Really? Get element. Oh, it's get elements by tag name. You know, I think I'd rather just find the form itself and we'll just add an ID here. I'll call it the tip form. Tip form. There we go. I think that'll be easier. I'll just get element by ID. We'll say get the tip form and we'll reset that. Let's see if this works. 115, 5, reset. 100. Look how much easier that was. Now, I don't like how the tip percentage here is like some variable that I'm storing anymore. Like, I don't like this approach. What I would actually probably do is figure out a way to get that from the DOM directly. So the reason I was storing this like thing as a variable before is because like I don't know which one's checked. So I'd have to do a query selector all, I believe. And I could probably find the one that has the input name. Is there a way to say like is checked here? CSS, or let's see, I'll do JavaScript get checked radio button. What's up, Jonah? Yeah, no problem, Dark Knight. Glad you guys like the stream. I've relearned some things that I've forgotten along the way. Is there not a way to do that with the query selector? Like, do I really have to get all the inputs and then like loop over them? Okay, yeah, that's how you do it, checked. So what I'm trying to do here is like, I want to get the input that's checked. Let's do this. I'll say const checked radio. I'll say selected tip. And I'll say if there is no selected tip, return as 0. And then if there is, I will return selected tip dot value. I could probably also do this and just like make it fall back on 0, maybe. Might make it a little cleaner. So I don't know if this will work. Let's see if what I'm breaking. But basically, I want to call that everywhere, so I don't have to do this anymore. Kind of a little bug somewhere. I don't know where that bug is. Percentage. So that I don't need anymore. I'm trying to get rid of this thing. At this point, I don't know what the point of passing in this stuff is. Like, this thing knows so much about the DOM anyway. So like, we might as well just use those. And then tip percentage could just also be get tip percentage. And then everywhere we call this method, like, we don't need to pass all this stuff. I thought I was trying to be smart by doing that, but it's just, I don't think I'm achieving anything that way. Yeah, same thing here. Recalculate totals. And this doesn't help that I have a semicolon next to the 0. That's probably what's breaking it. 100, 15, 5, reset, 25. Yeah, I think this is a little cleaner than what I had before. Yeah, sorry, the chat is so delayed. Like, you'll suggest that like there's a bug in my code, and then like I won't see that until like 30 seconds later. So yeah, I don't know how much energy I have left to keep doing this. I can make the button look nice at least. So like, let's just go ahead and style the reset button, which I don't like styling with IDs personally. Like, I'd rather give this like a primary button, or just give it a class of button, throw back to a bootstrap. And I'll just go ahead and style this with the button. And what we want to do here is we want to give this a background bar. What is it? Like the light, very light grayish cyan. Is that the one? Anyway, let's give this a width 100%. Give it a padding, 10 pixels, border, none, outline, none. Cursor is the pointer. When you hover over it, we should probably change the background to something else. Maybe just grayish cyan. That looks terrible. What other colors do we have? Very strong cyan. Oh, I did the wrong one. It's called very... Oh, it's just called strong cyan. I'm going to swap these. I'd rather this be here and this one be here. Okay, and I think the reset button is pushed to the bottom. So how do you do that? We have to, in the results panel, if we give this, I don't know how to do this. I do know how to do this. I think if we give this like a position of relative, and then here we give a bottom, on the button itself, we can give like a bottom of 0 pixels, and I can say position of relative. Is this a hack or is this the proper way to do it? Results should have a position of relative. Here it is. The button should have a bottom of what am I doing wrong here? I mean, I could probably do some type of like flexbox space between as well. What font am I using? Like, what do you mean? In my VS Code editor or like in this page? I don't want absolute. Yeah, margin top auto. Let's try that. Hmm. It's one of those things where it's like, I know it should be super. I don't know if I want it to be absolute because it makes the width all messed up as well. I feel like this is something you can easily fix with Flexbox, and that's probably the proper way. So if I say display flex and then flex direction column, and then if I went down here to the button and I said align self flex end, is that not how you do it? Margin bottom 0. Yeah, I think it should be absolute. Margin top auto and bottom 0. I swear I had that though. Did I? Because I added flex to the whole thing? Hold on. Yeah, I had to have align self as grid only. Container height. Maybe put the button inside. Use flex, wrap the rows in container, and justify between. Envelope 2 upper divs. The flex container is 100% VS Code, height 100%. Is that really the issue? You know what? I don't think it's a height issue. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I like actually the suggestion of like just wrap these two things. So like if I wrap these and then I put a space between on the results, if I say like justify content space between, I like that approach a lot better. But it also worked, the margin top auto worked the moment I added a display of flex to the container. So that was another approach too. Like instead of doing this justify content space between, I can actually go to the button itself, which is down here, and I can say margin top of auto, and that actually fixed it as well. What's the best approach? I have no idea. Margin top auto is the correct solution. Okay, I'll do that one then. But I am curious, like, why did I have to add flex to the entire container? Because, like, if I go to results, I get rid of flex, and I add the height of 100%. That one doesn't work. So maybe there's something I don't know about. I'll just do that. Delete that. What's going on here? Probably margin top, because if we add more things, it'll stay at the bottom. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Yeah, so this is a pretty fun challenge. I don't think I'm gonna do anything else on this. I mean, there's like error handling you can add in. There's responsive design and mobile design. Ain't nobody got time for that. I've been streaming for 2 hours, so hope you guys learned something from the stream. I refreshed my memory on a lot of vanilla.js stuff. Pretty cool. This code is probably not the cleanest code. And again, I would probably just use React if I was going to rebuild this thing, or just some type of component library, because vanilla.js can become really unmanageable really fast. Unless you were really taught the best practices and you know the best practices of like when you should update the DOM and stuff. But I think input for custom tip. Yeah, do you guys have any more questions or anything? Anything you guys want to ask me? No, this is all vanilla.js. I think if I do another challenge, it'd probably be React again. Some of these challenges, they're not like hard, but they're like time consuming. Like they're going to take you like a full 8 hours. Maybe I'm just getting old and slow at coding, but like some of the stuff is just like tedious, trying to make it be like what it needs to be, which is why I like to focus on the newbie and junior stuff, because like this took me 2 hours in a stream and I'm not even like halfway done. Like I haven't done the mobile responsive design. No, I haven't done any of the responsive design yet. So just so much work. This one looks fun. A password generator. Maybe I'll tackle this one. I don't even know how to do a slider. I think I'd have to find like a custom component. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. So be sure to see, do you recommend doing front-end mentor stuff in React? Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, I think the key of getting good at front-end development is you have to practice building things. And the only way to practice building things is to like either think of these things yourself or find some type of challenges that you can use a reference of. Because I mean, like I think I did this one once in a video. This one's pretty simple to do as a newbie. I think I've messed with Blazor for like 10 minutes before. It seemed like it's pretty interesting to use. Password generator. Try a calculator one. Oh no, that'd be hard. Would you design it for mobile first and desktop if you're doing them? Would you design it for mobile first, then for desktop? I would honestly, I would look at your user base. If only 5% of your users are hitting your site with their phone, then I would probably design for your desktop first. Like in a real life situation, right? If you know your analytics of your user base, design for the biggest majority. But if it's just for these challenges, I mean, I don't know. You could do mobile first and then kind of come back and add the desktop views. I did the Connect 4 in 3 weeks using vanilla.js. Yeah, I could try the calculator one at some point. I want to do the password generator and then maybe the calculator one. Do you have any email that I can contact you? I have a mentor and I need advice. Yeah, I mean, you could join my Discord and send me a message if you have a question or something. Fuzzy. How much React.js knowledge should I know before going to Next.js? I mean, you should probably know a decent amount about like how to build custom components, how to do state, how to pass state with props, how the re-render cycle works. Maybe bring in like one state management library like Jotai to like make sure you understand like how to share some type of global state. You should know how to use the use effect hook and custom hooks. Memo, not that important. Callback, not that important. But using custom hooks and understanding how like those work, because when you start working with Next.js, you have this idea that like sometimes your component will render on the front end, sometimes it'll render on the server. And if you need to like write code that only runs on the client, you have to use a use effect. Do you have to do mobile and desktop separately? No, you can do them all like on the same page, and typically you just change the CSS and add like breakpoints and media queries to change how the components look and how they like lay out on the page based on the mobile and desktop design. Sometimes it is actually easier, depending on how different the mobile design is, to just show a completely different page or component when you're looking at the site with the mobile view. This one's pretty easy because you probably just have to like change this CSS grid from being 2 columns to instead just put it to 1 column, and that'll push this content directly underneath this content for you automatically. And then you probably just have to like use media queries to change the gap between your components. But sometimes, again, it's much easier just to make a completely separate mobile design and like show and hide components based on that. I guess that's an argument between responsive design and what's it called? Responsive design and the reflective? Responsive design versus, is it called adaptive design? Adaptive design requires the creation of different layouts for each device, the website. I don't know. I'm not really a designer, but I believe one is like you handcraft your app for every device to really give it a better user experience. And then responsive design is like, I'm just going to scale things and shift things around just so that users can like use it. Maybe go read this blog post. But I'm guessing adaptive design will probably give a better user experience, but probably take a lot more time. Responsive design often takes less work for UX designers to create, but they will have to work with developers to ensure the layout of the site is usable. Anyway, I think design would be cool to like dive into and start learning more about. I went straight to React before learning any of JavaScript. Yeah, that would be, I mean, maybe it wasn't as hard as I think it is, but I would probably be struggling to understand like how does like all this different callbacks and closures and stuff work. Playing with React and not knowing like the fundamentals of JavaScript would be kind of intimidating. Messing around with Remix, I like it more than Next, to be honest. Yeah, I think Remix is actually easier. I think it's easier and more concise to like build out server-side rendered applications. Are you more comfortable with CSS frameworks or CSS3? Right now, I use a lot of Tailwind CSS on my side project, so I feel like I'm more comfortable with Tailwind. But I mean, I can hack at CSS and get stuff working. I just don't really know the best practices of CSS. No, a lot of people use Vue. A lot of people really like Vue, so I don't think that's an issue. But I just use React for work, and I do a lot of React content on my channel. So it's like I'm not going to switch my content to Vue because a lot of people would probably stop watching my channel. Is Connect 4 in 3 weeks good? It took me a month and a half to make a simple Ludo game. I feel like a sloth. I mean, if you're a beginner, Connect 4 could be pretty hard because you have to like learn how to make the grid and then like all the JavaScript logic for like checking if a row has 4 in a row and the diagonals and stuff. Yeah, I think 3 weeks is probably pretty good. I mean, was that 3 weeks, 8 hours a day? Or is it like 3 weeks? Oh, I'll throw in an hour every couple of days and stuff. You don't need to learn Redux to learn Next.js. In fact, I don't even recommend anyone use Redux these days. I think you can achieve the same thing with just context or Jodi or Zustan. There's really not that much global state you have to share between your pages from what I've seen. Yes, with Tailwind, mobile design is actually a lot easier. I just started learning Angular. Do you have any experience with Angular? If yes, can you post one video talking about it? I probably won't make any videos about Angular, but I did start my career with Angular JS. And then when the big transition to Angular 2 came out, I learned that. And then went up to Angular 4, and then I got switched over to a React project. So that was kind of the end of my Angular days. But yeah, I think Angular is pretty good. I liked it from when I was using it. The fact that it has TypeScript and it has like dependency injection and stuff built into it, I think it's nice. Is React hard to learn if you're a beginner to intermediate with JS? I don't think it's too hard to learn. I think you could probably learn it if you feel like you're kind of comfortable with JavaScript. Yeah, Tailwind does make it super easy to like make websites, but at the same time, it's very easy to copy and paste code everywhere with Tailwind and make your code completely unmanageable. I think CSS helps you like take a step back and figure out ways to really abstract away your styles throughout your entire application. But I mean, you could do that in Tailwind too. You just have to be very careful that like if you find yourself like copying pasting the same class string like all over your app, it's time to slow down and figure out a way to abstract that into like either a share React component or some type of like shared CSS class. When I built the calculator app in React, I just use eval method for working the answers out. Yeah, I don't think you should ever use eval. It's very insecure. But hey, if it worked, that's cool. Hey Cody, I'm looking for my first React job. So what is a React junior dev do in a company, for example? Maybe task. I mean, they'll probably give you like lower hanging tasks, like fix a bug that's on this page, or maybe style this page a little bit. It really depends on the company. They probably won't throw many like brand new implementations at you, depending on how big the company is. If it's a bigger company, I wouldn't see you be giving like tasks to rewrite certain parts of the system or add in brand new functionality to, I don't know, do this thing in the system. I don't know. I really don't know. Hopefully you get some good work though, because sometimes you join a company and they just make you do testing for like a year straight, and that would be terrible. What's up, Carmen? What is a theme you use? I use a theme called Bearded Theme. I have some problems where I forgot everything I learned, like HTML, CSS, and JSS. If you forget all your stuff, I would just find ways to document what you learn, right? Make your own notes, make your own notepad, make your own like Notion, write down all the stuff you think is important and find ways to quickly be able to find and read through your notes. That's what I would recommend if you forget stuff. Just have like this stuff that you can just reference really easily so that when you're building on applications, you can just kind of go back and like look at the stuff you've already learned. Where is the design theme? New solutions. Have you thoughts on daily? Yeah, I mean, the Daisy UI video I made a long time ago, I think I was kind of harsh on it. I think it's pretty fine to use, honestly. I don't really have strong opinions on like component libraries. I think just use whatever gets the job done. And at some point, if you find that the component library is causing a lot of friction, like it's really hard to change stuff or modify stuff or customize stuff, then that's when it's probably not good. I think my main concern with Daisy UI was like I was expecting it to be a component library, but it's not. It's just a styling, like it's a collection of styles that you can basically apply to your DOM elements. And I was expecting it to be more like expecting to have accessibility and all this stuff. So I think I kind of judged it a little harshly. You need to learn intermediate algorithms when learning web dev. Learn the ideas, not the syntax. I don't know what intermediate algorithms are. If you're talking about like leak code stuff, I've never actually found leak code to be useful in my day job. But you might have to know it to land a job if they do those leak code like types of interviews. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to click the like button because it helps my channel grow. Leave comments on my videos if you ever watch my videos, because again, that also helps my channel grow. YouTube really likes when people interact with your content. I have a Discord channel you're welcome to join if you want to just hang out with other developers or find a place to ask questions and get help. And yeah, I think that's all I got. So stay tuned. If I do stream again, it'll be next Sunday again around the same time, either 9 a.m. Eastern or 10 a.m. Eastern, 12 o'clock. I started the stream a little bit late today, but usually I stream on Sundays. And other than that, I mean, have a good day. Happy coding. And I wish you the best of luck on whatever you're trying to learn or tackle. And sorry, I'm not going to answer more questions. So